guys, it's Tim here with Cincinnati Fear, and I'm joined by Steven, who has just recently returned from Korea. So how's life been readjusting to the time difference?
Yeah, I've never experienced jet lag before, but I can say it is powerful. I'm still like recovering on my sleep schedule side of things. I have a new respect for the Japanese players. I have no idea how they play in these conditions. And the fact that like they like get off the plane and like we'll be playing like even a day or two after, crazy to me. I'm still getting back into it, but it was absolutely worth it.
Awesome. What were you there for? What was going on?
So the event that I was there for was the World Esports Summit. I was there on a panel with Fit Gamer's Mike Anderson, and we were speaking about mental health and esports. There's a bunch of people on the panel. I was on there as the only player, like my perspective and my story, whereas everyone else on there was some kind of like coach or outside analyst. They were all great people. We met up we were the second day of the talking event, and we met up the first day very early, almost right off we got off the plane, and we already just started talking about everything we were going to talk about. We basically like toured the entire city together. We got really close
Very
that
cool.
weekend. Or that week. It felt like a weekend, but it was actually in the middle of the week.
Was it like 5 days total?
No, it was so technically 3 days, but because of the way the time skip and the international dateline worked, I was only there for 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I had 2 full days on the ground, and technically 3 days, but that's because you skip forward a day once you go over there and skip back.
Yeah. So you were just speed running Korea.
Yes. I didn't sleep very much intentionally, which is also probably dealing with how impacted I am, because I was quite literally just running back and forth between every place I could go to, every place I could see.
Right.
And then also sitting down to listen to the other panels going on at the event, to see what they had to say. There's a lot of good stuff there. I didn't stick around for all of them, but like the ones that really caught my interest, I made sure to go back for those. And then I was back outside in the city on the subway, like, okay, I need to hit up this place. I need to go to this place.
Immediate tourism as soon as you could.
And really, I feel like even in those 2 days, with as active as I was and how like much I was like sprinting basically back and forth between place to place, I feel like I saw like maybe 20% of Busan. Like that like was like worth it. Yeah. So I absolutely want to go back. That's like my main takeaway. I just cannot wait to go back to Korea.
Sweet. Well, back to kind of the panel itself. What were kind of some of the questions that you were able to kind of put your insight on?
So really, I was just on there to tell my story. Like everyone else on there was some kind of expert in something. There's like one talking about like bullying. One was talking about like women's experience in esports. Yeah. There was 2 like performance coaches, Mike being one of them. Another one, I think his name's Damien. He's from England. I was the only player, and I had no particular expertise, but I had my experience. Right. And so really, I was on there to tell my story. I kind of gave my experience with how esports has positively and negatively impacted my mental health, and things I've had to struggle and overcome to get to the level of play that I have today. Yeah. Oh yeah, someone was asking me specifically how I deal with like, essentially like as a player, it was another player asking me, it's like how I deal with like essentially hate comments and stuff like that. Because I am something of a niche micro internet celebrity, right? Yeah. And so like, people definitely see me as like a guy on their screen, not as like a real person sometimes. For sure. Like obviously I'm pretty popular. I think I'm usually the underdog, and the way I play, at least I think, is pretty exciting. So generally I think I have more fans than I have like haters in any kind of case, but a lot of times I'm beating someone's favorite player or something like that, right? And I remember telling that guy that essentially the way I've always dealt with that stuff is I'm just very liberal with the block button.
Fair.
If I like read something and the first 3 words are something I don't think I should finish, then I stop right there and it's gone, right? Like there's no reason to do that. Like do that to yourself. You don't need to go any further. Stay away from YouTube comments. It's the most vitriol, disgusting place. Besides ours, our YouTube comments are great.
They are wonderful.
But otherwise, like the absolute goblins that are in like Smash YouTube comments and stuff like that, just like stay away from that. Don't read Twitch chat unless you're winning. And so, and like that's essentially what I remember telling that guy. Nice. That was the only question I remember specifically getting. Okay. But there were other general questions to the panel that the rest of us answered.
Nice. And then, on the other panels, did you have one that you specifically like sought out to go see?
So the very first panel was the one that stuck out to me the most. That was the opening one, and that was on the subject of esports, if it's a passion or an addiction. That was like the theme of it.
Okay.
And from what I understand, this poor Canadian lady was up there, and she was the only one on the addiction side.
Oh, she was.
And from what I understand, she was supposed to be it was supposed to be more evened out, and I know that everyone who was supposed to be on the panels were able to make it in the end.
Okay.
I wasn't supposed to be the only player on our panel. Like, they were supposed to get someone else, but they couldn't.
Gotcha.
Which probably has to deal with the fact of how little time they gave to
It was pretty
help
quick.
it. Given that I was barely able to make it there with my passport situation, but it wasn't really like a hostile environment for her. I don't think really. Like, but I think it was like supposed to be more people on her side.
Yeah.
And she was telling the story of her like son who like absolutely had like some kind of like addiction to video games.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's, as like a player, and also like, well, I think like everywhere is in general, the room is much more on like the supportive of esports side.
Yeah,
I actually like found myself like more agreeing with the mom on anything, and knowing exactly like I probably would have been like a video game addicted kid as well if it was not for esports. I think like my social life was suffering until esports gave it a chance to not. And I think a lot of the ways that like esports, even like after I found a social setting for myself, the impact on my mental health, which I ended up talking about in my panel, was very not like identical, but there was a lot of like similarities in what her like son was dealing with.
Yeah.
We ended up meeting at one of the after parties later, and she listened to my end, I listened to her end.
Nice.
And I think she wants to meet up for a talk. I know she has like a book on it.
Oh, cool.
But she wants to like meet up with a talk, and essentially we have like a very similar story, but mine's from like a son's perspective and hers is from a mom's perspective. And so that was like one that really stuck out to me.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. And yeah, I think a lot of people kind of, without esports, it wouldn't be a healthy thing. Like it really helps with the socials, even a lot of online relationships form, and that's good too. But then the fun stuff, what was your favorite place in Korea, in Busan specifically, that you got to see?
So the place we called was a place called Centum City. That's where we stayed. That's like, if I were to like describe it in any particular way, like it was probably like the shopping district of like the downtown.
Oh, nice.
There was department stores everywhere. It had the world's largest department store that I went and visited. That department store had a golf range, an ice rink, like a giant floor dedicated to spas, and a zoo theme park or something. Like and this is one like department store, massive building. If you're ever in South Korea, go check out Shinsegae. I'm kind of helpless when it comes to shopping though. Also, like the clothes there, everyone's super well dressed. I'm not like a fashion guy, but like I couldn't buy bad clothes for myself there if I tried. The kids are better dressed than me. Like you couldn't get a gamer fit in Korea if you tried. There's just not anywhere. There's only good clothes.
Just look good.
But that place was really cool. But if I had to say my favorite, it was probably, this is like a weird one. I didn't hit a couple of the places I really wanted to that I think might have overtook it. But there was this building in a place called Hyundai. It's like on the eastern edge of the city. Okay. Massive building. It's like a dome, and there's like 4 or 5 like skyscrapers all on like different sides of this dome. And the tallest one is a building that you can go up to the top floor.
Oh, cool.
You can it's like the top 3 floors of that building are like tourist floors basically. The 100th, the 99th. The 98th, and up there has the world's tallest Starbucks. That's like one of the attractions of it. They have a unique flavor for like one of their drinks that's like you can only get at that store. It was actually pretty good. It was like some kind of like weird like cotton candy yogurt thing. It was very strange, but it honestly was really good.
I'd try it.
And then up there you can you'll obviously use the spyglass. There's a part where there's like a sky bridge where you literally like can see 100 floors down, like all the way down to the side of the building, and it's like just straight glass all the way down. Yeah, there's like a bunch of like paper airplane stuff you can do. I don't know. It's surprisingly like it was a lot of fun for a just be going up on a really tall building.
Yeah.
We thought we were like, oh, we're paying $7 to go up on a really tall building, and no, it was like a really great time. It was probably some of the most fun that we had while we were there. There's a couple places I didn't get to that I think would have been even more fun. There's Busan's all a coastal city, so like everything's a beach. And obviously, we're not really enjoying the beach. It was very cold. It was about the weather it was here, maybe a little colder. But yeah, the beach was cold. But there's like a place along the beach, very near to that building. Actually, I was talking about where you can ride these train carts that will go along the beach. But you need to have them pre-booked, so we couldn't get on. And it was like you just basically get to sit on like these like carts and just go on like a little beach like side tour. And there's also like a couple temples that I wanted to go to. I wanted to hike up, there's a mountain overlooking the city.
Oh, cool.
If you ever been to Los Angeles, it's kind of like the Santa Monica Mountains.
Okay.
Where like they're big, but they're like they're like definitely hikeable mountains.
Yeah.
And they're just like on all sides of Busan, besides the ocean. And I don't even know what goes on the west side of the city. And like we didn't even get to that side. We were like, for as much as like running around as I was doing the entire time, I only got to see really like the east side of the stuff.
Okay.
And I didn't even hit everything on the east side. So there's so much to do and so much to go back for.
So it sounds like we need another World Esports conference, and we need to be invited
And
again.
this time that I have my passport already, we can plan for it to be a longer stay. I spent so much time concerned on whether or not I could even go in the first place that I never like stopped to like, maybe I can get the stay extended or something if I throw in a little on my own end or something, because I absolutely would have done that.
Yeah.
But it was a great time. I'm glad because it has like my fear of traveling somewhere that like I'd be completely isolated. Like I was on my own in a country that doesn't speak English for the most part.
Right.
And like my fear of that is now like replaced with like fire. Like I want to go back. Like I was like I'm not afraid of it. I'm very excited, in fact, by the prospect now.
Travel bug.
Yes. So I'm very happy that those 2 days were able to get that out of me.
And then the final career question: what was your favorite food there?
Favorite food? There was a lot of really good food, and honestly, one of the saddest parts is I didn't get to try nearly as much as I wanted because at the Esports Summit, they had like a lot of like provided food. Okay. There was like some stuff I got to try. Honestly, the Korean barbecue is always delicious. Sure. That was a really good time, especially like authentic with some Korean speakers there to help us through it. I really, really like bulgogi. Yes. I think bulgogi is delicious. Amazing. And I wanted to go to like an authentic like Korean fried chicken place. That was actually one of the things that we didn't get to hit. And I wanted to just like walk into more restaurants. I was actually telling somebody, I don't know, if it might have been it was you actually. I was telling you the coffee, right?
Yeah.
I was walking into random coffee shops. They had Starbucks there. They had Dunkin' there. But I was just walking into random coffee shops and just like asking them to order me whatever they thought was like the best thing.
Yeah.
And consistently, I was getting like some of the best tasting coffee I've ever had for cheaper prices than Dunkin' and like significantly better quality than like Starbucks or something like that, right? Like they're just random coffee shops across the board, like $2.45 for like the best coffee you've ever had. And it was, I cannot stress enough. That was the other thing about Korea. Everything was so cheap. I did a lot of Christmas shopping there. That's why I was spending so much time in that that shopping mall. That was one of the things that took away from my tourism. I had 2 days. I had a shopping day and a tourism day.
Gotcha.
And the shopping day was spent like all at that Shinsegae mall.
Yeah.
I bought myself some new shoes actually.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, significantly cheaper. Everything there is so much cheaper than you would think it would be. Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure why, what the conversion rates or like the cost of living is, but I had a converter on my phone, like 1,300 won is about $1.
Yeah.
And
nice.
like I don't think there was a single time where I paid like more than $20 for like anything besides my shoes, and even that was like $80.
Wow.
And these are shoes that do not cost $80 in the United States. I can say that much. So yeah, if you ever go to Korea or when thinking about going to Korea, cannot recommend it enough. Especially if you are like want to travel somewhere that doesn't speak English, but you're like nervous about it. I think it was so easy for a completely English speaker to get around. And also the only expensive part about it like had to have been the flight. Obviously like my flight and hotel were covered by the World Esports Summit, but like looking at it and having been there, like the hotels are cheap, the food is cheap, the shopping is cheap, just the flight that's going to be a little bit expensive.
That's
but once you get past all of that, cannot recommend it enough. It'd be at least for me, it was like the time of my life.
Nice. Awesome. Well, that's all for Korea. But now, competitively, we're getting back into it in 2024, January side. But you did just come off one of what you said your best performance standings-wise in low-tier city in Houston?
It was in Dallas, or technically I think it was like Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth.
How did that go?
Yeah, it went really, really well. I was down there with Kyle. He's a good friend of ours. If you saw the top 3 photo that I actually missed, Kyle was the person pretending to be me. And so, yeah, the tournament went great. The timing of there was some like unfortunate things that happened leading up to the event, but like the 2 pre-locals that we went to, I did pretty solid at. I think it was like 3rd and 5th at them, which is like about like what I was expected to do. And then in the bracket itself, I had like a lot of like close calls in the earlier part of bracket, and I lost to this Rob player, Grayson, who actually, for those who like know like some deep Doorstop lore, I suppose. One of my first like notable performances on any big stage ever was back in 2021 at Riptide, where I almost beat MK Leo. Everybody remembers that set if they remember anything about me, or just like that time I got really close to beating the best player in the world. And then immediately after, I lost to Grayson, which is the part that no one knows about. Because after that, right, you go to losers, and like I just immediately lost after that to Grayson. And so I was like, I remember this guy, and he also beat me in one of the pre-locals, and then he beat me again in winners here. Yeah. And not only did he beat me, every single time he's beaten me to this point was 2-0, 3-0, and 3-0.
Pretty convincing.
The games themselves weren't that bad, but like there's just like, and I don't like particularly know why. Like I feel like I was like a higher seed than this guy. Like I know that he's good, but like I don't know. Everyone's played both of us. Is like it should not be like this.
He's got your number.
So he just knows something about me, and thankfully it wasn't just something about me. He also beat Shu too. I think he beat Shu twice that weekend. And Shu's another very good zero suit of comparable level to me. And so it's like, okay, he's just really good against zero suit, I guess. I know that he's also given Mars the run for his money at some point, but like I should be able to figure this out. And then so I went to losers. I played Tenny, who's also a very interesting story with that, whereas Tenny's a Pokemon trainer player, and he's from Austin. And I actually remembered Tenny. I don't know if he's done anything particularly big, but when I was studying VODs for early Smash Ultimate, I would look for Pokemon trainer VODs on YouTube, and I'd look for Zero Suit Samus VODs on YouTube. And there was a local in Austin, Texas, where the top 2 players were Tenny and another player named Hockey, who was a Zero Suit player. And so I would watch their sets of them playing each other, so I get like, oh, I get Zero Suit stuff and I get Pokemon trainer stuff. And I think this guy was really surprised when I told him that I had watched his VODs.
Oh, that's nice.
I think he was like really surprised by that, and I was like, I would watch like Austin locals because those were the only like Zero Suit and Pokemon trainer stuff on YouTube. And we had a good set. I'm really, really strong at that matchup. Obviously, I know my own character. Right. So I was able to get past that. But the problem was immediately after that, I had Mute Ace.
Who has our number? Just the Fears number in general.
Mute Ace was one of to me when I played him at Riptide, one of the most distinct things that I remember feeling. Like I played MK Leo, I played Tweak, I played Shuton, right? Like I played like some like top 10, like some like debatably the best players in the world, or even the best player in the world at his peak. And at no point did I ever feel like they were like that far away. Okay. Mute Ace felt like he was that far away at Riptide, and I was having the run of my life at Riptide. And so I was like, obviously, like very much so taken aback. I think actually the first time I played him was at Gateway. I think at Gateway, that's where he really stuck out to me. It's like, wow, this guy is. I just played the best player in the world. That was like what it felt like to me. At Riptide, I came a little bit more. I was like playing a little bit better, but he still like obviously solidly beat me and ended my run there, both in winners and losers. But with help from Igaz, the coach I started working with right before Riptide, we had gone over both Mute Ace sets at Riptide, and we had formulated a plan for it. And actually at this regional that I went to a week before Low Tier City, I ended up playing Dawn, the Peach player from Ohio, and grand finals and winners finals of that regional. And Dawn's another Peach player who had also beaten me the last couple of times we played. And I had used the Mute Ace notes right before I prepared, like right before I had to play Dawn. I looked over them, and they work great. I beat Don, I think 3-1 and 3-0 to win that regional last week, which I actually forgot. That's also another thing. I won a regional right before those regionals. That's pretty cool.
Lots of things have happened.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things going on. It looked Big House, this regional, Korea, Lucy City, all blurring together. But and so when I knew the notes were good, and I was like, okay, I know the notes are good, and I'm going to go into the set with the intent of like, I'm going to try and like use these notes as best as I can and see if I encounter any new problems. And I also had insider information that Muteace's hands were like really messed up that weekend. And so like I knew if there was any,
This is the week.
if there's any time I'm going to beat Muteace, it is going to be this weekend. And I could definitely like notice that. I don't think it was necessarily coming so much at his misinputs, but I feel like there were certain spots where he was like slow to act that I don't feel like he would under normal circumstances, and I feel like it's probably had to do something with his hand pains. Muteace has a lot of like, it's not like just John's, he has like a lot of things like going on with his body, works against him. But, and so I ended up winning 3-1. I was like really like shocked by it. I was like, wow. I was like, even though like I knew all the circumstances, like it just felt really good to know that like I'm learning from my losses and like the things that I'm coming up. So I was like, well, I just beat Muteace, and it's like, okay, that was the person I was convinced was going to stop me from winning the tournament. No one's going to stop me from winning the tournament right now. And then after that, I had a Steve player, DJ Don, one of those 16-year-old Steve prodigies coming up. And I had actually played him at the pre-local, and I had beaten him there. We had a really fun set. He's also like a troll, and we were definitely both trolling during our set. I think I made a lot of my friends very stressed out because I almost lost that set, and I was also trolling with him. And I think Mars ended up making a YouTube video about that set for how much we were like messing around. But that set was a lot of fun. I was enjoying myself. I wish they had the player cams to like show like how much we were laughing while we were playing that. And so after I played DJ Don, for fourth place I had Grayson again, the guy who sent me to losers. And Grayson, knowing what I had, like, even though I'm having all these problems against him, and like I knew that I still was, even though like the record's really against me, I should be winning this. Was like kind of like the mindset in my head. Like the matchup is good. He's really good at it, but like I don't think he's so much better than me that his like better like experience at the matchup should be getting this far ahead. Egas had watched me lose in winners, and he had some suggestions. I also had help from the Zero Suit Discord, and. And so they had some suggestions, and basically the conclusion that I reached was I need to play a lot less respectful. I need to be really aggressive and like crossing up Rob at every given opportunity, and like kind of almost like brute forcing my way past him, because if I hit him, one of the biggest downsides of Rob is that he's combo food. He's really easy to blow up off of one hit, especially for a character like Zero Suit, and so like I need to play more aggressively to get that one hit. Playing like neutral was like actually more to my disadvantage than it was to my advantage. And so I started playing, and then immediately it worked. The first game I won, the second game I won, and then the third game I barely lost, and then the fourth game I barely lost, and I was like, okay, this isn't working. I think for the game 4 I had taken him to Kalos, which is a big stage, and I think it's objectively a good stage in the matchup. But the way that I was playing the matchup, he had counterpicked me a small battlefield, which is probably where I would have taken him if he didn't take me there. It's like, okay, so he knows something about this stage. This is a good stage for him. But so I took him to Kalos, and then after I took him to Kalos, I realized like the way I'm playing is so aggressive. I need a smaller stage to be able to close the distance this aggressively on him like I'd like to. And so I took him back to small battlefield, even though he had counterpicked me there. And I think I get a really early stock game 5, and I'm able to run away with it. But it was getting a little scary there. I was like, okay, I'm almost getting reverse 3-0'd somehow. It was like plot armor stuff too, because like the first 2 games weren't close, and then game 3 I barely lost, and game 4 barely lost. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way that this is how I get eked out. And then past that, I was in top 3. I had Dark Wizzy. Dark Wizzy had beaten me at Cost 2021. It was actually Cost 2022. It was one of the first events with On Fear. He had beat me there. We had a really close game 5 set there. And I'd always felt really good about playing Dark Wizzy. I just, like, he's definitely really good at the matchup, but also I really like fighting Mario, and I really like fighting, like, his, like, defensive style of Mario. I think it's just, like, a lot of neutral. And I think I was overconfident about it. Even though like, I think I was, at that point, like especially after having gotten past Grayson, in my head, like I can't lose this tournament. Like I felt like I was like beaten everyone who was going to beat me there. And in my head, that Dark Wizzy and like Shattuck were just not beating me. Which is a crazy thing to think about because Dark Wizzy Shattuck are phenomenal players.
Yeah,
but like I felt really good about my chances versus them.
Yeah.
And I think the way that I played versus Dark Wizzy was far too aggressive. And I wasn't actually playing the matchup. I think I was playing like me and I was playing hot, but he ended up blowing me up like really, really hard. The games were all really, really close, but he just kept getting these like super early stocks on me with these like Mario combos off the top. And I was, I think in hindsight, like watching this set, like I was definitely just not playing the matchup like at all.
Yeah.
I think I was too already assured of my own victory that I could just like play like whatever way I wanted.
Yeah.
And I was like already playing for the next set. And so it was like, actually, even though I like had a really great performance there, I was definitely like a little disappointed because I was like, I actually really like was sure that I was going to win after I beat Grayson.
Yeah.
I was like, I beat Mudace, I beaten this guy who's like, I had the record, I had my number, and then only to lose to, I guess I never beaten Dark Wizzy before, but also like, I like these matchups that are like good. I finally got to like good matchups, and I'm still struggling with those. And I was like, this could have been it. That's how I felt about Big House too. Even though I got 7th there, like I felt like I lost to the only person who was going to beat me at like that top 8, and I was like,
Fair.
But I don't know. One of these days will be mine. It was objectively a really good tournament to end on.
Yeah.
We were also visiting friends down there, and they wanted to get dinner, and I was supposed to be out of bracket by this point, so they were waiting for me to be done. So we walked out immediately and we went to go eat, and then like about 20 minutes later, I get like my phone's blowing up, and I was like, "Where are you? The award ceremony's happening." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I'm out getting." I think we got like ramen or something like that. It was delicious.
Nice.
I remember it was Asian food, and it was like a spicy bowl, and it was delicious.
There you go.
But
Sorry, award ceremony.
and I ended up seeing a picture on Twitter of the top 3 featuring Dark Wizzy, Shattuck, and then Kyle. Kyle had a really funny picture going on. Thank you very much, Kyle. Kyle housed me, and I think Kyle was I'm honored to have Kyle as the honorary doorstop of that picture.
Love that.
And I think also Kyle is like a reputation for being like the reoccurring like, trying to think like the Stan Lee of like the Smash universe, where he's like kind of just like, you know, like he just like appears in random regions a lot, and everybody knows him and everybody likes Kyle. Like he's like MDVA knows him really, really well. It's where he used to live. Cincinnati knows him really, really well because he lived there while he was going to college, and now he lives in Texas for college. And so there's a whole bunch of random regions that just know Kyle really, really, really well. And I don't know, I always like to think of him like the Stan Lee, where he's just like, oh my gosh, there he is. And that was definitely a classic Stan Lee Kyle appearance right there.
Yep.
That was my Low Tier City story.
Nice. And then, so that was it for 2023. We're looking into 2024. Right off the bat, in January 4th?
Let's make big moves. I think I have like maybe a couple like really small events, but I'm not planning on traveling particularly far for the rest of the year. Especially after Korea, I'm very traveled out. I don't want to step foot on another plane. No more 4-hour car rides. Nothing longer than that for sure.
Yeah.
So I'll be taking it easy for the rest of the year at the very least. Might see me at some small stuff, but yeah, let's make big moves is going to be the next big major for me. I'm very excited to be back. I had a great time last year, or this year still technically, but I'll have a great time next year.
Yep. Steve will be there. Emma will be there. Geist will be there. So you'll see Fear out in New York City, taking over, and hopefully placing well, just like in 2023. So, thanks guys for stopping by, listening to Doorstop about Korea and 2023, and we'll see you next year.
See you guys.
Bottoming out.
Yep.
As is.
And Mecca will get it.
Able to flick and hide.
And here's Wave, and they are going to punch their ticket in.